I married a film critic. So I married a film critic.
Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic, a discussion between a professional film critic and lecturer and me, his wife of 20 years, who just likes to watch movies for fun. I'm your co-host, Julia.
And this is Barry the Film Critic. Hello, everyone.
And tonight we're going to talk about actually one of my favorite movies.
Oh, boy.
One Fine Day.
The ironically titled One Fine Day. Because, man, what a rotten, lousy, exhausting day this is for George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes. So I love this movie. My sister and I would watch it all the time when I'd be home from college, make cookies, So I
had a cookie ritual for this movie?
Yes. Chocolate chip cookies. My sister made the best ones.
Why were they the best?
I don't know. They just were.
Did she put more chocolate chips in than... It was one of these things where there's so many chocolate chips, the cookie's like holding on for dear life. One of those.
No, but we just had a lot of fun watching this movie. And so I disagree with, maybe we'll get into it, but some of the critic response.
Oh, I disagree with the critics. I think it's a good movie. I do like this movie too. In fact, I like it better than a romantic comedy we covered recently, which is My Best Friend's Wedding. Why? Because this movie doesn't have a mean bone in its body. And I don't say that about a lot of films, but I would definitely say that about this one. This is a sweet film, and it is aiming to be old-fashioned in a way that's complimentary. I, on the other hand, have had days like this.
No, you have not.
I absolutely have had days. You're looking at a writer who has literally had to be on his feet running to find a laptop to make a deadline. And I was running around Honolulu. This is true. I had it was a day in a year where I was running around Honolulu like a madman because I had an article that I was sending to Maui Times, which is obviously located on Maui. And my laptop was not working in my hotel room. So I'm running from hotel to hotel on the Waikiki Strip, begging the concierge, hey, can I use your laptop? Can I use your little office area? They all said no, and they told me that there was a library down the street. I'm on the cell phone with my editor. He's like, where's the copy? Where's the copy? We don't have it. So I had to go into a Waikiki public library and physically type out an article I wrote from memory in order to make the deadline, which was in 1 hour. It was one of the most stressful things I've ever gone through in my life. It was like a madcap romantic comedy without the romance or the comedy.
Wow, you didn't even get to kiss me at the end of the day.
No, when I got off the plane and got to see you, yeah, that was definitely nice. But no, it was strange because I was on the island of Oahu covering the local premiere of Kong Skull Island. Remember how that movie set the world on fire? And my editor wanted me to write about the film. And I provided him with the article. It didn't work. It was just one of these things where my laptop didn't give him what he needed. And I had to just send it from another computer. It was just a farce. And it was all day. I'm running around Waikiki like a madman.
Okay, well, let's talk about Melanie Parker.
All right. Let's talk
and Jack Taylor running around New York City all day.
Yes. It's seriously, I like the film, but man, watching this movie, it stresses me out.
All right, well, let's get into it because Michelle Pfeiffer plays Melanie Parker, an architect and divorcee with a young son named Sammy.
Played by Alex D. Linz, the future star of Home Alone 3, released the following year. I feel like there's parts of this movie where he's auditioning for Home Alone 3.
Yes. So the whole movie takes place in 24 hours, and so we're at her apartment at night. We're just seeing her pay bills, get ready for bed, pack lunches, all that stuff. And, we find out that her ex-husband is a drummer. He's a musician. And he's supposed to be able, he said he's coming to the soccer game the next day.
And of course he doesn't.
Here we have everything getting set up. And then the next morning we meet Jack Taylor, played by George Clooney.
Yeah, Clooney. This was... let's see, his second leading role ever. His second ever starring role in a motion picture, because he had been around for about a decade about this point. He had starred in such classic films as Return to Horror High and Return of the Killer Tomatoes, because that's what you do when you're a starving, struggling actor. He lands the lead on ER in 1994. It makes him a huge star, but this is back when there was this weird. It used to be this weird thing where television and movies could not mix. You're either a TV actor or you're a movie actor. You're not both. So this was that point where a lot of actors were just struggling to break out. David Caruso, it didn't work for him. Tom Selleck, he had to kicking and screaming to make his film career work. And Clooney, his first lead, it's in a cool movie. It's From Dusk Till Dawn, which Tarantino wrote. And then this was his second. And then after this came The Peacemaker and a couple of the ones. Some worked, some didn't. But yeah, he's on fire in this movie. He's great in this.
Yeah, I really like him.
Yeah.
So we see him in his apartment, and his ex-wife is banging on the door and brings their daughter Maggie over. And, some stuff happened. The babysitter can't take her, and she's leaving for her honeymoon. Can Jack watch his own daughter for a week? And he's like, I can't do it. I'm working on a story. You're always working on a story. So here we get the dynamic between these
Have we ever
two.
had this conversation?
What? No.
You're always writing movie reviews. Yes, I'm always writing. I'm a movie critic. I write movie reviews. Yeah, you're always writing movie reviews. Yes, that's what I do.
No.
It's what I do.
Because you always want to spend time with our daughter, so this is,
That's nice.
not the same.
I was even fishing for a compliment. There it was. Oh, thanks, sweetie. That's nice.
So Jack says, okay, fine. And the ex-wife gives him all, a list of all these things. And one of the things is call Melanie Parker if you don't want her help to take Maggie to school. Okay? Now, of course, Jack is not paying attention. He does not call Melanie. And this sets up our terrible day.
Well, what sets up the terrible day is a cover of the title song by Natalie Merchant. Now, look, Carnival is the Natalie Merchant song of the 90s. I love that song. It plays on the radio. I pump up the volume. I always want to hear that song. I love it. I love the mood of it. I love the feel of it. I love what it's about. This cover that Natalie Merchant does of One Fine Day is a bummer, and it's slow. And this is a sparkling, fast, really snazzy romantic comedy. It really pops. It moves. It has a lot of momentum, and it really has the momentum of an action movie. Starting on this note is such a mistake.
Okay, well, I'm going to disagree with you because we're starting in the evening. It's nighttime in New York City. We're looking into everybody's windows.
But do they want the audience to go to sleep as well? One fine day.
Okay, so you don't like that. All right.
And it's in this movie twice, by the way.
Let me tell you what I don't like.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, Jack is taking Maggie to school. He's like, what time does school start? She's like, I don't know. He's like, probably 9. Everything starts around 9. I'm like, what? School starts at 9?
I don't think that's ever been a thing.
And then we see Melanie and Sammy at Maggie's mom's apartment, to pick up Maggie because no one has told her not to pick up Maggie. Mm-hmm. And she's there for what? A couple minutes knocking on the door. And then they end up at the school and it's like, okay, the whole class has gone to their field trip. And this is where she meets Jack. And she's like, oh, you're the reason that I'm late. And I'm like, okay, you were knocking on a door in your own building for what? 2 minutes, and that's why you're late. Like, that is silly.
This angers you? This is like one of your favorite films, and this detail.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
What?
Because if the mom had answered the door and given her Maggie, it would have been the same time frame. How long is she standing out there?
Every minute it took her to knock on that door is another minute that she could have been back on the street.
I guess, but it's just...
These New Yorkers, they move very fast, Jules. You're a West Coast girl.
All right, that's true.
These are uptown girls living in an uptown world.
Okay, so then she's like, oh, you must be, my friend's ex-husband, because that's her daughter, and this is a totally ex-husband thing to do. And right away...
Ooh, slam!
I know, right away, they are just like at each other's throats. And, they are like, we got to catch a cab to go get to the boat, and then they miss the boat because Jack is like, no, it's not this one, it's this other one. So that part is totally Jack's fault that they do miss this.
Don't you think the reality is that when attractive people meet each other for the first time in real life, there is that pause. You're like, hey, I don't know. Have you ever noticed that? Like when people who are good looking.
They don't do that though. They don't have that pause.
No, I don't because it's a movie. But I feel like in real life, if I turn a corner and someone's about to annoy me and it's like, it's Charlize Theron, I'm not going to be like, hey, what's up with you? You know?
Oh, so you don't think their meeting is realistic?
I think if I cut someone off and the person drove to talk to me and I rolled down the window and it looked like Brad Pitt, they're not going to scream at me. But because it's a movie, it's like, well, George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer can't get along right now. Oh!
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in real life, there's the pause. It's like, hey, what? Hey. How you doing?
Everyone turns into Joey in real life.
When it's Michelle Pfeiffer, yes, they do.
All right, so, they're both like, I have a day, I have stuff I got to do. And right away, though, Jack does propose that he take the kids so she can do her thing, and then she take the kids so he can do his thing.
Which is a pretty cool thing for the ex-husband that she's making him out to be. Like he's some dirtbag dad.
Right, which is exactly what ends up happening later on. Like, he comes up with this solution, and she's just like, no, I only have extremely responsible people, like, look after my son.
She sees him as an obstacle. I get it. She's somebody who's, she's go, 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 and she does not suffer fools at all, whereas he is very foolish.
Yeah.
You know how this is. I mean, and there's always people like this in life. My father's one of those guys who just does not suffer fools. I, on the other hand, I surround myself with fools. So I love fools and I suffer them all the time. So I think she's definitely that type of like, what would you say, like a type A personality?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the kids end up switching the cell phones.
Yes.
Yes. And so, whatever, they have the exact same cell phone. It's like a flip phone. It's huge. It's, from the 90s. All right.
I miss those phones. I love the flippity flip thing they did that made me feel like I was on Star Trek, and I like the weight of them.
Yeah.
Because if you're about to get mugged, you have a weapon.
Okay, so we get to see Melanie go to her office, and she has to take Sammy with her, and we find out that her boss is not good. He's a total jerk. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, he's of a different generation. It's interesting because this film is referencing the Preston Sturges era. I mean, Marty, the producer of the show, and my brother, he gave me a film years ago on a Criterion. It's Preston Sturges' The Lady Eve, which this movie owes a lot to, as well as, of course, His Girl Friday. A lot of movies of this type. Where the women are stronger or as strong as the male leads, and it's this wonderful back and forth repartee. It's moving past the whole idea of a woman as a damsel in distress who needs to be saved. In this case, it's like the women do not need the men. It's refreshing, and we're seeing that. But what's interesting here with this dynamic is that the boss of Michelle Pfeiffer, he's very much like somebody from the 1930s. It's almost like they supplanted a character from a 1930s Preston Sturges movie. The actor plays it really well.
Yes, exactly. Well, I did forget one thing. So they are in the cab together, and Jack,
Pfeiffer and Clooney.
Yeah, all four of them. And Jack pulls out his newspaper and is like reading his own column. And she's like, I don't need to see that. I already have an opinion of you.
Can I say that I've done this and it didn't go well? It's never gone well. It's not because I was trying to impress Michelle Pfeiffer, but I've had, in addition to my core jobs, I've had, as you know, like side jobs. I had a gig where I was selling hot dogs from Home Depot. I worked at a 5-star restaurant. I have had coworkers who didn't know who I was, really didn't care, and I want to make things better because I'm working with someone for 5-6 hours. So I've left copies of the newspaper that I'm in very close by, just thinking like, maybe they'll be like, hey, look at that. That's your name. Nothing
happened.
And which is even more crushing. Or they'll look at it, they'll pick it up, and they'll just like throw it away. Be like, okay, so what are we doing now? Yeah, so I've had that happen too.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
this is like the Sadberry episode. All the things that went wrong.
Well, I have some happy anecdotes, but anyway, like I said, this film stresses me out, and this is why.
And this is why it's too close to home.
No one will acknowledge me.
But we also get a glimpse of Jack's boss, who is hilarious.
Played by Charles Durning, the wonderful, wonderful Charles Durning, in full warring Hudsucker mode. I love him in this film, and I love the back and forth with him and Clooney. If the film lacks anything, it's closure. Because when you have supporting characters that are this important and they're played by actors of this stature, like 2 examples, this movie needed one more scene with Charles Durning, and it needed one more scene with Amanda Peet's character, who we'll get to shortly. The movie sort of just leaves them, and they're too good to just be like, well, we're done with that part of the movie. We'll just move on.
But these characters are gonna see them the next day. So do we really need closure with them?
Well, I guess they thought there was going to be a sequel. Another fine day.
Another fine day.
Yet another fine day.
Okay, so we kind of get a glimpse of Melanie's situation. Her, because of Sammy playing in her office, she ends up falling and crushing the model for her meeting later that day. So she has
You make it sound like it's her fault. Let's be clear. This kid is the Omen.
Oh, no.
This kid
is bad.
The Antichrist.
Yeah. He does everything possible to ruin everything.
He's got this little car he winds up. He throws it at her and she slips. I mean, is he going to say like, do you give up or are you thirsty for more? Little brat. Like, kid, you got the role in Home Alone 3. Cut it out.
Well, that's why she's like, why can't you just leave everything alone? Like, you're ruining everything. She does lose her temper.
And I'm like, yes, I get it. Totally justified. No, he's a cute little muppet of a boy, but oh my gosh, this character, insufferable.
Yeah, he is pretty bad. But Melanie does, earlier she does try to call her sister to get some help. And I love this scene because the sister is so awful.
Yeah.
And Melanie's like, can't you watch Sammy for the day? You have a nanny, a housekeeper, and a cook. And she's just like, I am planning for a dinner party tonight. And, I cannot help you. So
the sister kind of reminds me of Cameron Diaz at My Best Friend's Wedding. She's kind of a little child who is used to being pampered.
Yeah. So,
whereas Melanie, the Pfeiffer character, is used to doing everything.
Yeah, but she's like, you're perfect. You'll figure it out. And it's like, oh man, Melanie has got the you're perfect.
You're the perfect sister, so you have to, you have to live up to that role, which is a rotten way to say no.
Exactly.
I'm not going to help you because you don't need my help.
Okay, so while Melanie's dealing with all that, Jack is at his therapist's office.
Yeah, the therapist. It's one scene, and the therapist is played by the wonderful Robert Klein.
Yeah. And since his daughter's there, he's like, everything is coded language. And talking about the daughter as a cookie and his ex-cookie maker and how he met a fish and this fish is a fox. I mean, it's very clever.
It's cute. I don't know that the daughter needs all that coded language. I don't think she'd get it anyway. She's very young.
Yeah, I mean, the kids are like 6 years old.
I mean, if he uses a big word like intercourse, the girl's not going to get it. I think they're safe. He wasn't
even talking about that. He was just talking about.
They are, but they're talking about cookies and goldfish as a, they're making it a Sesame Street conversation about Dr. Ruth stuff.
I know, and I thought it was clever.
It is clever. I'm just saying it's also kind of a gratuitous moment because I mean. You could have given the girl earmuffs, and clearly she's not even paying attention.
Earmuffs.
Unless later on in the movie they make it a thing, like she brings it up, like, "What are you talking about?"
No, she did. She talked about how she tells Melanie.
But in code. Yeah,
in code, that he wants a fish that will appreciate his dark chocolate layer. Which is funny. But we see his newsroom work area and all the women just fawning all over him and
basically what it's like to be George Clooney.
Yeah, I was like, well, this is probably him every day.
I wonder if they even asked the extras to act.
Pretend like you like him.
Look who's here.
Pretend like you're super attracted to him. They're like, oh, okay, that's going to be hard.
I'm kind of disinterested. Imagine him in a doctor's outfit. Ooh.
So the situation at his work is that he broke a big story and his, I don't know, the guy who went on record is now going to say
he's welching on him. He doesn't want to do it.
Not even talk to him.
Getting cold feet, right? Yeah. About going on the record.
So he's got to find another person to go on record for this story. And so that's where we get, okay, now he's got stuff he's got to do and Maggie can't be with him. So now they both have meetings and deadlines and they end up taking the kids to this drop-in center that Melanie didn't want to take Sammy to, but she's desperate. And so they're both there. And I don't know, this is like a crazy place. Like the kids were like really mean.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it was like for me to go to middle school at a certain school that I will not name, but I thought, oh yeah, that checks out. Middle school.
And this is like a preschool.
Yeah, right. It is New York though. That's a different kind of kid.
But what's cute about this part is it's superhero day and the kids don't have costumes, and Melanie has this purse that just is seemingly never ending.
It's a Mary Poppins purse. And we get our first musical montage.
Yes. And Jack just looks at her like, where do I get a bag like that? Okay, so now they're both on their way to like solve their problems when Sammy calls and says that one of the kids said the F word, and she's like, go tell the teacher. And he's like, Mom, what's LSD? So, all right. Now
do we even see any teachers when they drop the kids off?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Because man, like when those kids are leaving, it's like, I don't know, I wouldn't even leave them there. I mean, it really felt like,
Lord of the Flies.
It felt like they were, being inducted into Shawshank.
Yeah. I know. I did see some other adults in the background, but they really don't.
Little kitty jailers.
They don't really show them, or at least they don't show them talking to them.
You and I just recently had an experience where we dropped our daughter off for
camp.
Yeah. And, we know the people there. It's a really comfortable thing. If I had the vibes that these kids were giving me, like, help. Yeah. I wouldn't do it.
No.
That's just, I don't care how desperate you are. You don't leave your kid and,
Well,
if it's going to be like the bar and Roadhouse, but like, the kindergarten version,
okay,
no.
But if Melanie had listened to Jack in the first place and had gone with his idea, they wouldn't have.
Well, she can because she hates him. He's beautiful George Clooney. So doggone it, they cannot get along. It's too early in the movie.
So
got to stick to that contrivance.
So they call each other, and by the way, they've gotten like messages from other people, and they have to like give each other their messages because they switch phones. But she finally is like, hey, you need to go rescue our kids, and you watch them right now, and then after my meeting I'll watch them for your thing. And so they have agreed that they're going to help each other.
What this movie needed was scenes of the women in George Clooney's office leaving him dirty messages and Michelle Pfeiffer having to pick it up. Like every couple minutes you get one of those. That would have been so great.
Like sexual messages?
Well, I wasn't going that far. Just like...
What do you mean like dirty though?
Well, what's his character's name?
Jack?
Hi, Jack. I'll see you tonight. Oh. 555-4259. I'm Brenda. I work in accounting. I have blonde hair.
Well, you said dirty, so what did you think I was going to think?
Well, I wasn't going to say anything for this podcast. I mean, use your imagination, folks. It's a PG movie. Gosh.
All right, so Jack picks up the kids, and I don't know, he just like takes them to have a fun day, and he's trying to get the number for this person to get on record.
Clooney's fun in this movie. He was very young when he made this film, and he's playing a single dad. He's got a natural rapport with the kids. It's fun to see him in this because this was my two favorite Clooney movies, performances. He did a film for the Coen brothers called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is like a Roadrunner cartoon, and he's just delightful in that. And he did a sci-fi drama for Steven Soderbergh, excuse me. The film is called Solaris, and it's highly underrated, and he's sensational in that movie. And then there's a period where he just did a lot of dramas, like a lot of movies like Syriana, which he won the Oscar for. I kind of miss how playful he is in this because it's not the movie's fault, but he's stiff in Trouble in Paradise. He's loose in this. It has nothing to do with how young he is. He's just on fire in this movie. I don't know if he realized like this is a big break being in this film, or if he was just really that invested in the character. But this is a fun character, and you also see why the character's a problem because he is a big kid. Mm-hmm. And that's, it's to his detriment, but it's also an asset because he's wonderful with these kids. He understands why they're a priority, but at the same time, his career is on the line seemingly every hour. So he's constantly having to fight to prove his existence in this world, but at the same time, he's trying to make it as a father. This is a real everything on this day is the ultimate test for him.
Mm-hmm. He does have this thing where it feels like he does this gorilla thing where he's like, a lot with the kids, just to
That's what guys do.
Yeah,
That's what we do. Our gorilla thing. Oh yeah, I'm down with that.
Melanie has a very successful meeting with her new model, and she's on cloud 9. But they're like, yeah, meet us for drinks at like 5:00, downtown. And it's like, oh no, now she's got another thing. So it just is piling on for this
These
woman.
clients are idiots though, because she's done the job. She's done. She doesn't have anything more to say. They just want her around because she's beautiful and because she's more interesting to talk to than her codger, unhappy, lifeless boss.
That's true.
There's no reason for. Another film would have her just put her foot down and be like, okay, well, look. No, I'm not going to go out to drinks with you guys. I have a private life. This is not it. But it is one of these things where she's desperately trying to suck up to her boss because her boss is...
She's going to get a big promotion if she lands this account.
And he's terminally unhappy. He freezes when he sees her son, and she pretends like it's not her son.
Yeah.
And honestly, her son is so insufferable at that moment. I know exactly how she feels.
Yeah, well, it's funny because he asked his assistant, can you see if my amoxicillin prescription is still active?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Okay, so now Jack is bringing the kids back to Melanie, and she's just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, you actually kept the kids safe, and, you're here on time. This is amazing. And he's just like, yeah, like, I'm not a complete doofus, And then there's a moment where he's saying goodbye to her, and she's like, thinks that he forgets her name.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like...
leans into it, does the Clooney thing.
Yeah,
but as you said, his head's down a little too low.
He leans in. I mean, it's very like, ooh, this probably gave her butterflies, but it's like the head is just down a little too low.
It's too low. Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to look up her nose.
Yeah, but he's like, I know your name, Mel. Like, ooh, okay.
It's nice. Although realistically, she'd be like, it's Melanie, you jerk, Melanie.
All right, so now Melanie's in charge of the kids, and she takes them to Serendipities, and they get, ice cream and everything. And
is that a real place?
Yeah.
Oh,
you've never been to Serendipities? No, I'm just kidding.
My dad in the 80s, he didn't take me to Serendipities. No, he took me to see cats.
Oh, okay.
So I saw the singing cats. I saw people in spandex dressed like cats, but no, I never saw the Serendipities.
Okay. Well, they're having ice cream, and of course, Sammy is just like, again, just is a disaster and gets ice cream all over her outfit. But
that kid, man.
They're walking around the store, and Maggie gets distracted by a cat and just leaves the store and follows this cat. And it
is believable though? Michelle Pfeiffer is on the phone with her mom. That is how parents get distracted. Stay off your phones when you're hanging out with your kid or you're babysitting someone else's kid. I saw this, and again, I'm freaking out because I'm like, this happens. This is plausible. We're always freaking out about like some guy's going to come up to my little kid and be like, hey, kid, does it smell like chloroform? And then they're going to like take the kid out into a van and never going to see my kid. No, it's stupid stuff like kitty, running after a cat. This, and you're on your phone and your stupid cell phone and you have your back turned for 4 seconds. That's how these things happen. So, yeah, this movie is like a horror film for me. I feel so much anxiety watching this scene.
Yes, it's so awful because she has to go to the police station and report that Maggie's missing. And it's just like a nightmare.
But, I got to say, this film, again, it's sweet because a mean, sadistic film would have suddenly turned all serious because Michelle Pfeiffer is not playing this moment for laughs. She's horrified. She's scared. We're seeing her be vulnerable for the first time. That's why it's an important scene. But the film isn't sadistic about what she's going through. And most importantly, we see the little girl is fine.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we don't know right away.
No, but the film doesn't really... It doesn't take its time to show that she just wandered into a storefront. There's a nice lady who's like looking after her. Like it does show that very quickly. It's not like It's not like the end of Superman where you think Lois Lane is dead for 10 minutes. Like,
No.
like it's pretty quick to clear. Like, look, you as the audience, you can relax because this is Michelle Pfeiffer's thing. You don't have to share it because she's okay.
I don't think we know until George Clooney gets a call from the police.
No, I think before then there's a scene where she walks into the antique store and the lady's like, "Oh, hi, little girl."
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, I mean, look, it's not like it's whatever. Okay, what would you say? The movie waits like a minute and a half to tell us the girl's okay. But still, like, this isn't like a Disney movie where you think a character is dead for 10 minutes and like, oh, they magically come back to life. Why? Because it's a Disney movie.
All right, so Melanie is like, Jack's cell phone battery is dying, so she can't call him. And so she's like, where's he going to be? He's going to be at this press conference. So they go downtown, her and Sammy, and she's trying to, again, like, he's not quite there yet because he goes, anyways, the cops call, and so he has to go pick up Maggie and then go to the press conference. Okay, but so he could lose his job because of this whole lost daughter thing, right? And so Melanie's trying to like pretend she's a reporter, and she just looks like a total mess. But this scene with Jack and Maggie is really sweet when he goes to get her, because
This is my favorite scene of the whole film.
Yeah.
I love it's beautiful. I love the way it's written. Clooney and the young actress, forgive me, I don't have her name in front of me. She's just terrific. It's beautiful. It feels real because the little girl is forcing her dad.
Mae Whitman,
Man, wonderful, wonderful. She's this daughter is basically forcing her father to, no, you're just going to sit here with me for a moment, just the two of us, and linger on these kittens. There's things about this movie that feel stylized or, very much like, okay, it's formula. This is a moment that it felt very real to me. And certainly as a father of a little girl, I've had moments like this a lot.
Hello, Maggie. Hey, hi. Hey, oh, hi. Hey, I'm Jack Taylor. That's mine over there. Thank you very much for watching.
It was my pleasure.
I'm sure it was. Come on. Hey, yeah, right. Come on. Let's go.
No, Daddy, I want to play with the kitties.
Hey, we don't have time to play with the kitties. I got to go to a press conference. Hi, kitties. How are you? Come on, let's go. Tag, you're it. Come on, chase me. Let's go, Maggie.
No, Daddy, I want to play with the
Come on.
kitties.
Red light, green light. Come on, come on. Come on, let's go. Maggie, come on. Don't do this right now. Don't you understand? If I don't get there, Maggie, if you want me to lose my job, come on, come here. Watch your head. Do you want me to lose my job? Really love those kittens, right?
Yeah.
Come on. Watch your head. There. Okay. So what are their names?
This one's Bob, because he looks like a bobcat. And that one's Fred. And that one's... Forget this one's name.
Yeah. Okay, listen, Maggie, I know that this has been a rotten day for you, and I know that right now all you want to do is play with these kittens. I don't blame you, because they're great. But if I don't get to this press conference, I'm going to lose my job, and I don't want to lose my job. So we got to work something out. We got to make some kind of a deal here. So what if we talk to this beautiful young lady and we ask her if maybe Bob can come to the press conference with us?
Mm-hmm. You mean keep him?
You borrow him.
But I want to keep him.
You have to talk to your mother about that.
She's allergic.
Oh, that's right. She gets all... All right. Well, you know what? Bob can just stay at my house.
Where would he sleep?
You know that room with all the boxes in it? We could clear those out. He could sleep in there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Of course, you're gonna have to come over and visit every once in a while. Just check up, make sure that I'm feeding him and everything.
I will.
Yeah. Come here.
I love this scene so much. You don't get the equivalent with the little boy. The whole movie, I'm just wanted to drop kick this kid, but the daughter, I'm like, she's cool because of this. I love this scene so much.
Well, I think what we're seeing in this day is this reconnection of father and daughter, because the girl lives with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she only sees her dad, like, I don't know, very rarely. She doesn't even have a bed at his apartment.
Right.
So she's not like spending weekends over there and spending a lot of time with him. And so since the mom is allergic to cats, he's like, oh, well, I guess Bob the cat could, you know, maybe he could stay at my apartment, and he's gonna need a bed, and oh, maybe you could have a bed there, because, you know, she's like, yeah, because I'm gonna have to come and check on him. Like, it's a really sweet
it's great
moment where it's like, okay, we're connecting and we really do want to spend more time with each other.
The movie gets like really real Kramer versus Kramer for a second. It's like this is like a real, you know, emotionally authentic moment between daughter and father. It's great. I love it.
So they finally make it to the press conference, and, you know, yes, Jack's, you know, person comes, and so it saves his job. He has someone on the record. That whole thing. I mean, that whole plot is like, I don't know. I didn't even really talk about the plot of his story.
Yeah, that's a plot.
It doesn't even really matter.
There's a lot of like, oh, I got to meet this person, then meet this person. You know, the film that does this masterfully is Ron Howard's The Paper, which came out 2 years earlier. That's with Michael Keaton. And that film, in addition to be a comedy, it's really exciting. Like, that film, the whole movie, top to bottom, is like an action movie, the way it's paced. It's so thrilling. And, you know, it's Keaton literally, you know, racing time, you know, getting the deadline and, you know, getting the copy in on time. And in this case, it's effective, but it's also kind of a grown-up Sidney Pollack movie sort of subplot, because there's a business of him with kind of shaking down the Joe Grafasi character on the roof, where it's like, you know, he has a problem because he has someone who no longer will testify. He chases down the wife of
the sanitation commissioner.
You know, played by Ellen Greene, by the way. Little Shop of Horrors. Ellen Greene is a goddess, and she's a terrific actress, and she's great. And then she kills her character role. But yeah, I mean, the big scene where, you know, that you're referring to. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff building up to it. The movie is just a little too cute for this part of the film. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, they could have,
because he's like taking down the mob. I'm like, okay,
they could have repositioned it where he has to like help his daughter get a costume on time for her Thanksgiving pageant, and it would be basically the same thing. Really, you know, the movie could have been just cute about it. It could have been like, oh, you know, she has like her ballet recital. We got to get her on time. We got to get the ballet, you know, we got to get the tutu. The film could have done that, and it would have the same effect. His
job wouldn't be on the line.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Unless he had to cover, you know, this Thanksgiving Day recital, because the president's son is in it. Ooh, yeah.
The president of the United States?
Yeah. The president of the United States' son goes to the same school as his daughter, and he's in it. So that's his in to cover it.
No, because
he's using his daughter just to get to the. I'm doing a rewrite. He's using his daughter to get to the recital, which is in the school cafeteria, and there's Secret Service guys everywhere.
Would never work, because the White House is in Washington D.C. and we're in New York City.
You don't think the presidents would have kids who go to a school that's not in the same state? No.
Nah, I don't know. Not at that age. Not at 6. She's 6.
Well, she has a terrible habit of like running out of the White House. So like they got to find a school with like bars and like barbed wire to keep her in place. You know.
No, this is a terrible idea.
Did I just get fired off the rewrite of One Fine Day?
You did. You just got fired.
I tried.
All right, so now that everyone's jobs are saved, they're going to head to the soccer game. But oh no, Michelle Pfeiffer has to go to this bar to meet these clients again with her boss.
This bit of business. I hate this scene so much. But to the film's point, I mean, this, you know, if you want to talk about a film that really deals with office politics and just blatant, ugly sexism, you're still not going to do better than 9 to 5.
Oh,
this movie is not 9 to 5, but it wants to make that kind of point, because these guys are awful. They are insufferable, and they're not being professional, and they certainly are not being courteous or even remotely human to her at this point. And she finally breaks down and gives them a little gentle shellacking, telling him, you know, look, I got a kid outside. That little boy that you thought, you know, carried the plague, that's my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Well, I think this is the version, like, you know, Jack had with Maggie and the cats, this is like Melanie's version of that to show her son that because she's like, you're the most important thing to me. And he's like, no, your job is. And she's like, no, you are. And so this is like her.
Kid is so annoying. And to amplify my point, while she's giving this big speech to her boss about how important her son is, he's on the other side of the glass making faces at him like, oh, this kid, he's insufferable.
I can't do this now. And I can't go with you to Stamford now either. Yes, Mr. Leland, that is the little lost boy from this morning, only he's not lost. He's my son. I have a child, and he has a soccer game in 20 minutes. If he's late, he doesn't get the trophy, and because I'm in here with you, he's probably going to be late. But what gets to me more than anything is that instead of crying about it, he's out there with a big old smile blowing fish faces at us. Gentlemen, if you're smart, you will want me as much for my dedication and ability as for the fact that I am going to ditch you right now, and I am going to run like hell across town so that my kid knows that what matters to me most is him. And Mr. Leland, your real grounds for firing me should be if I were to stay here with you.
I like her. A lot.
All right. I mean,
cute actor, but I can't stand this character.
I know. It's supposed to be cute because he's doing fish faces.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Okay. All right. So she leaves and the clients are like, I like her a lot. And so now we're like, okay, yay. She's not going to lose her job.
But she doesn't know this. And the movie should have made it clear that she knows that she's going to bed and knowing she has a job the next day. So it doesn't. I want to rewrite for that scene. I do.
Oh, you do. You want her boss to like run after her and be like,
well, he can't run at this point. He'd be like, oh, Melody, hold on. Let me get my wheelchair. Sorry, am I being ageist? He's a jerk. Who cares? And he's a fictional character. Melody, you still got the job. Exactly.
Yeah.
We need something like that. And he needs to suffer. He does.
Yeah, he doesn't suffer at all.
Because he doesn't suffer. You know who else doesn't suffer for being really awful to Michelle Pfeiffer is Amanda Peet.
Oh, yeah. We should talk about her.
I love Amanda Peet in this movie. She's great, but her character sucks. She's awful.
Yeah.
She's really, really terrible. And she's throwing herself at Clooney. Who could blame her? But
which is hilarious because she's like, he's trying to like go, leave the building and he's in the elevator. And she's like, think about me, Jack. Like I can be gentle. And then the door starts to close and she like
smacks it.
And she's like, but brutal. Like, what?
Yeah, it's great.
And he's just like, brutal. Okay, I'm probably not going to take you up on your offer because that sounds terrifying. Yeah, but she does kind of pretend to throw a little bit of weight around with Melanie. Like that she is something more to Jack.
But that scene needed to be more because there's the bit where she confronts her and says, kind of makes fun of her, like, oh, you're the one who lost his daughter. But either present her as a threat or follow through with that. Instead, she's just this character who's, she's intermittently mean and sexy, and that's it. And then the movie forgets about it. It's too bad because maybe really make it cruel and have Jack, like in the final moments, he calls Amanda Peet and be like, hey, like, can you babysit our kids? Because we're going to go out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like do that. At least like, have that kind of comeuppance. Like don't just, because she's killing it. She's great in her scenes. The movie should have done more with her.
Okay. I don't know. I always thought her scenes were really funny because she's so over the top.
Yeah.
But it was kind of clear that Jack was not into her. And so I think the movie wasn't going to like take any extra time for her.
Yeah, the supporting characters are so good. I mean, I mentioned Charles Durning, Holland Taylor, Truman Burbank's mom. She's in this and she plays Michelle Pfeiffer's mom. She's terrific in her scene.
She's great.
She's always so funny. I mean, she's very much like, playing those Madison Avenue characters like, darling, I got my bag at Gucci. She's like one of those characters. She always plays those kind of roles, but she's great.
I like how she always talks to Jack. She's like, you're adorable.
It's like, was that scripted? She's just improvising.
Yeah. She's like, no, he is adorable. All right. So they finally make it to the soccer game. And I don't know, but then we get to meet
Her
her
ex-husband.
ex-husband,
Yeah.
Eddie, who's a magician. I mean, musician.
Just as bad.
He's not a magician. He's a musician. And he tells Melanie that he can't go on the fishing trip, like can't take Sammy this summer because he's going to tour with Bruce Springsteen.
And I called BS on this. I'm like, no. Max Weinberg was the drummer for Bruce Springsteen at this point. There's no way this guy would be kicking Weinberg to the curb.
What if Max, was like dealing with an illness or like a broken arm or something?
He's Max Weinberg. He would still go. It's the Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
Yeah, but what if Max...
You don't let the boss down.
You don't let the boss down.
Who's going to drum on Born in the USA? This weird guy?
Yeah.
This magician / musician? No.
Yes.
Absolutely not. No, you get Weinberg or you don't do it. You don't play.
Oh, wow. He's just not going to tour. So you think Eddie is just saying that to get out of a fishing trip with his son?
I don't think Eddie's even a musician. He's such a deadbeat jerk. I don't think this guy does anything.
Oh, okay.
And it's one of these things. I think romantic comedies, I mean, this is just one of those tropes I've never liked. They did a movie about these characters. The movie's called The Baxter, and it's very good, about these guys who basically show up for a couple of scenes to provide a threat to the lead, but it's never going to happen. Like Christopher Maloney in Runaway Bride, that's one of my favorite examples.
Yeah.
And I like that actor so much, but his character is so awful. It's like, there's no way
his
Julia
character's
Roberts is going to
hilarious.
end up with this guy because he's terrible.
Yeah. Well, he's funny,
But you need these guys, like either they give the lead character some kind of insecurity, or even worse, there's the scene like, I love this movie and I love this actor, but it always kills me watching Bill Pullman in that scene in Sleepless in Seattle. He's like, you got to go to him. He's there right now waiting for you on the top of the Empire State Building. You got to just go. Don't think. Just go.
Yeah. It's like, dude, like you
No,
guys were
fight for.
engaged. Yeah, you were just picking out China like 2 scenes ago.
If you and I were ever on a romantic date and you told me a story and after 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, you need to go to Niagara Falls because that's where he's going to be. Okay, you shine that light and you go to Niagara Falls and you find him. You
Let me drive you to the airport. Like, what?
ridiculous. No, I understand the need for these characters in these movies, but in this case, it's a problem because, I mean, okay, 1996, who would have been a good actor to cast in this role? I think they didn't cast the right guy for this.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I've never even seen this guy before, and I don't think I've ever seen him since.
Who would have been a good actor to put in that role?
Okay, well, who was big in 96?
Well, I mean, we can't be too big.
What if it was like Tom Cruise? Too big?
He wouldn't have. He was doing Jerry Maguire.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't have done it.
Okay. Well, if you think of someone, then you can say it. But while they're at
How about Matthew Broderick?
Oh.
Someone who's like a medium threat to Clooney.
Yeah.
Handsome and likable.
I like that. Medium threat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't have like Brad Pitt in the role. Then it's like, screw Clooney. It's Brad Pitt. He's a musician. Who cares? It's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, well, because...
Medium threat.
Okay, because he thinks that she wants to get back together with this guy. And it's like, no way, man. But if it had been like Matthew Broderick, I think as an audience member, I would have gone, oh, maybe there's a chance of that. All right, the soccer game ends. The kids get their stupid trophies they've been whining about all movie. And, now
I agree with you. Even I'm fed up with the kids by the end of this movie.
and they're like, okay, they're going to go their separate ways, even though Melanie invites them over for like Chinese food and Jack says no.
And you're forgetting there's a montage where they jump around in puddles.
Yes, they do.
Because let's face it, at this point, this movie is running out of plot.
Yes.
It's running out of, conflicts.
Yes.
It's like she's kept her job, he's kept his job. They clearly like each other. Okay, where do we go from here? And the movie kind of is like, let's run through a puddle for 3.5 minutes.
I know. It is. Well, all right. It just kind of shows, though, that he brings like a playfulness that she is lacking in her life.
You don't think the last 80 minutes have shown that?
No. Because, no, not in her presence, because she's been by herself or with the kids, not with him. She hasn't seen like his funny antics with the kids.
His gorilla antics that you don't like.
She has not seen that. No. All right. So now they're each at their own apartments, and Jack is asking Maggie like about her time, and she just basically says like, "Oh yeah, she really likes you a lot, Dad." And he's like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, Dad, it's so obvious." And so at the beginning of the movie, there were some fish that Sammy was supposed to bring back to school that never made it, and the newspaper cat ended up eating the fish.
I love that bit.
Lois Lane.
That's really funny. But how late is it when he goes to her apartment?
I think it's only like 7 o'clock.
Yeah, there's a problem. Do you know any pet stores that are open that late, even in New York?
They're probably open till like 8 or 9.
Is this like when Tom Cruise went to get a mask at 1 o'clock in the morning at that costume shop? Eyes wide shut?
Or it could be, yeah, I don't know. Probably, I bet it's open till like 8 o'clock.
Petco is not open that late.
Okay, well, maybe there's a pet store open till 8 o'clock and they just made it.
Who would want to buy a pet at 8 o'clock at night?
I don't know. He's just picking up goldfish. That's all he wants. They also have food and stuff.
Goldfish they're afternoon buys. No one buys a goldfish. Does anybody buy a pet?
Okay, but it's like night? They show her in her apartment and the sun is like setting.
Yeah.
So
all right.
I don't think it's totally dark yet. But they go over to her place and he's like, yeah, Maggie wanted to replace the fish for Sammy. And then, they're invited in. And so, I don't know. Now we have our final scene.
Well, this is interesting because at this point, the movie starts to feel like a play because it's basically just... It's a 2-part set. It's the kids in her bedroom watching The Wizard of Oz while the two of them are able to be open and flirty with each other for the first time. And I think it works. I like it. I mean, the detail that I adore because I'm like, well, this brings me back is they're watching The Wizard of Oz. They're scared of Margaret Hamilton. She's like, okay, well, we'll fast forward to the part you like. And she goes and, fast forwards the videotape and we hear the tape go, and then we're, she's like, okay. And then, I'm like, how many times did my mom do that for me with everything? And, it's a funny dynamic as the kids are distracted by The Wizard of Oz and she's able to have this grown-up conversation with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a cool moment. The kiss scene's great because it's a nice build to it. You're not even sure if it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're just like Roy Schneider at the end of Jaws. Just reeling me in. I kind of love that line. Because she's like, so you're admitting you're a big shark? There's like a lot of flirty.
Gratuitous Jaws reference.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There is another montage. Yeah, it's like another montage of her and she's getting ready. And I don't know. I like it, but it's like she's shaving her legs while he's out there. Like she's doing the whole thing.
She's about to go to town with Clooney. I mean, I get it.
She's not going downtown. The kids are there. Why does she have to shave?
Why do you think she put on The Wizard of Oz? It's a 2-hour movie. Something is definitely going to happen. Yeah.
Well, no, it took her so long to get ready, he fell asleep. So
right, which is another good choice because, again, the title is ironic. They had a terrible day that just happened to go well at the end. They're both exhausted by this point, but it is. I do love the way it ends. Yeah, where they both fall asleep in each other's arms, completely out.
Yes,
it's not romantic. They're probably drooling on each other, and the kids come in like, look at mommy and daddy, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I like this film.
Yeah, it's slight, but I think that works. I'll tell you the thing about this movie that I always remember, and I think I'm remembering this correctly. It's been a while since I thought about the making of this movie, but the funny thing that happened was it was one of these things where they shot the film and 20th Century Fox went crazy for it because they had a test screening. We've talked about test screenings a lot in this show. They had a test screening for this movie that was, the scores were through the roof. If I remember correctly, it scored higher than Independence Day.
Wow.
So, and that was the big hit of that year that Fox had. So they're going like, oh my gosh. So they're freaking out. They're sitting on this huge blockbuster. And I believe it was meant to be released the following year in 97. They bumped the thing way up and suddenly it was out in fall. So this movie, you know, where everyone's going like, okay, we got like 5 months to do post-production. Well, you know, we're like, no. This thing is out in 2 months now. So you guys got 2 months to, you know, put it together. So, you know, and I think the film was fine. It turned out great. But the thing is they rushed it into theaters. They rushed everything with this movie. And idiots, they released it against Jerry Maguire and The Mirror Has Two Faces. So Pfeiffer had Dangerous Minds the year before, but Clooney at this point, you know, was a TV actor. He just wasn't a guy who could open a movie as good as he is, and this movie is as appealing as he's always been. So yeah, this film just got lost. And I've never met anybody who doesn't like it. But I mean, the thing is, it's not Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
It's not. And I think I'd give it the edge over The Mirror Has Two Faces. And you know what? I'd give it the edge over My Best Friend's Wedding. I think it's really charming. I think it's sweet. I think it's simple. It does have, in its best scenes, it does have the snap and the pop of a 1930s romantic screwball comedy. It does. And Clooney and Pfeiffer have really great chemistry in this movie. But yeah, there's no way it was gonna,
No.
you know, against Jerry Maguire. What were they thinking?
I mean, Jerry Maguire, you can't really go up against that movie, I don't think.
Well, at the time, nobody knew it was going to be a classic. I mean, you know, in their defense. And I remember when they were, when that movie was being described, certainly in the trades when they were announcing it, they said it was a sports comedy.
Yeah.
Which is,
but what was
it's
the
a love
song
story.
that was with that?
Secret Garden.
Yeah, and that song was everywhere.
This one has a song for the first time by Kenny Loggins, which is...
but it's not Secret Garden.
No, it's not. And you know, it was amazing when they played on the radio. They played the Jerry Maguire version where they have like the audio bites.
Yes.
She'll let you in now.
Okay.
You complete me.
Yeah. And the music video on MTV had scenes from the movie. So I think everybody was like really focused on...
You know what's really amazing in that song? The drumming by Max Weinberg.
Oh. It's hilarious. Okay, well, I wanted to read this. This is from Wikipedia, but it says Rotten Tomatoes gave One Fine Day 53% approval rating.
That's the current approval rating.
Yeah. And they said the consensus summarizes, with a throwback 1930s vibe, this screwball romantic comedy is perfect for one fine day of folding laundry. I think that is rude.
That's clever. But you know what else it says right there? I'm looking over your shoulder. It's just 36 credits.
Yeah, but still, I think it's better than just a folding laundry movie.
And not only is it better than that, that score comes from when the film came out. Mm-hmm. Because most movies on Rotten Tomatoes, even something like Weekend at Bernie's 2, they usually have like somewhere between 60 to 100 reviews, especially if it's a film like Shawshank or Godfather. So I'll bet if this film comes back in some way, I'll bet the score would go up. This happens all the time. A student actually showed this to me. There are two examples. One was Big Trouble in Little China, which was bashed by critics in 86. And when Rotten Tomatoes became widely popular in the 90s, it reflected the original score that movie had in 86. But over the years, Big Trouble in Little China has become a monster cult film. And I think it actually has the approval rating now, even because the reviews are reflecting what people think of it now as opposed to then. The other one, and this was interesting, I was teaching a class and I was dealing with Twin Peaks, and this is one of my college classes. And I had a student who at the beginning of the year, he was the head of the film club, and he arranged a screening of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with me. And he said, look at the Rotten Tomatoes score of this movie now. This was like in August. And by the end of the school year in May, he's like, look at it again. He was right. It kept going up. Because even he was aware, like, people are discovering this movie. It's college kids. It's kids who did not grow up with Twin Peaks, and they're looking at the prequel film before they... Anyway, like, he was aware that when films catch on, those Rotten Tomatoes scores, they go up, and those IMDb scores, they also go up because new people are seeing it for the first time. They're voting on it. It's this interesting thing where even if a film is bashed or disliked or old, you're seeing it for the first time. Your reaction to it is not going to reflect what critics had to say about it at the time. I mean, for all we know, when people look at Jerry Maguire, let's see, in a couple of years, it's going to be about 25, 30 years old. I think it might already be around that. I wonder if people are going to love it as much as they did when it came out. I wonder if there are things about it that people are going to say are problematic. Or...
No, they're still going to love it.
No, so perfect. Yeah. You know what, though? I got to say, like, I think it's a better film than this, and I do love Jerry Maguire. But Jerry Maguire has the subplot with Kelly Preston and the Jay Moore scenes, which are really mean. Like, that's the ugly part of that movie. And One Fine Day doesn't have that at all.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I give this movie an edge over a lot of romantic comedies because it's not just that it's sweet, but it's like it's so compact. It's tidy.
This is a movie you could watch with your parents, with your grandparents, and not be embarrassed. I would not say that about Jerry Maguire. Would never watch that film with my grandma.
Everybody talks about like how they love Jerry Maguire, except for that one scene.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So, I love this movie, even with some of the, like, even the contrivances to, like, get these characters to come back together. I still think it's pretty, I don't know, accurate. Like, this could happen.
Like I said, my problem is that some of the really colorful and interesting supporting characters, they're basically just cut out of the movie. They have one or two really striking scenes, and there's no wrap-up. And I think when you have characters that work that well, there should be some follow-through. That's the one thing I like about... I really like about My Best Friend's Wedding. They recognize that Rupert Everett is stealing that movie, and there's a proper amount of Rupert Everett.
Okay, but do you think that Jack and Melanie get together, like, after this day?
No.
You don't?
Absolutely not.
You don't think they make it?
I think they'll eventually drive each other crazy and break up. No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I don't. Respectfully, I don't mean to break the spell that the film casts. I'll say this. Out of the movies that Clooney did around this period, you know, like I said, he started off with From Dusk Till Dawn. This comes out, and then Batman and The Peacemaker. I think this is the best of his earliest stuff. I remember just seeing this movie and thinking, okay, yeah, he's a movie star. I didn't really... It's not that he's not good in those other films, but this is the one where I thought, okay, he's on fire. He's great in this, and I wouldn't have expected him to be so good in this.
Well, so how many stars do you give it?
3.
Okay, I give it 3.5.
Wow, 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah. I have good memories. I love it. It's sweet. And
what's your favorite Michelle Pfeiffer film? Do you have a favorite Pfeiffer performance?
I don't know. This one.
Okay, this one. For me, it's The Russia House. I want to say The Russia House because nobody's seen it. It's her and Sean Connery. Talk about chemistry. Those two are electric in that film. And she also did a film in 1988 that I adore called Married to the Mob. I love her in that, and she's really funny in that. She's great. I think at first, I don't know, like some of her earlier films, like Into the Night or Lady Hawk, it's almost like they didn't quite know what to do with her, what kind of role she could do. So she did. I mean, she's in Scarface too. She did a little of everything. And I mean, her first movie was Grease too. I mean, what a trial by fire. And over time, she kind of bounced back and forth between comedies and some really, really serious dramas. But she's great.
Oh, I do like her in What Lies Beneath.
She's terrific in that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she and Harrison Ford are on fire in that. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah. And, Up Close and Personal. I know you hate that movie.
I can't do that one. I can't do that. Yeah, that's, oh, man. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I do like that movie.
No, I love Redford and I love Michelle Pfeiffer, but I can't do that. I will never do that movie again. I can't do it.
All right, well, would you change the ending of this film?
No, because I don't want a sequel. I don't want to keep going. I like that it's all within 24 hours. I think, like I said, I think Ron Howard's The Paper does this better, but The Paper is not a love story. It's not a romance. It's not about people hooking up. It's not about how you can find someone wonderful and special on one of the worst days of your life. The paper is strictly about how you suffer for your art, how exciting and exhilarating it is to be printed and to get the story right and what that feels like. And I certainly relate to that film. I can't relate to this one as much as I look at this movie and I go, oh man, I've had terrible days like this, where you're just sort of racing the clock, racing time, and obstacles at every turn. But yeah, it has a genuine unforced charm, and it's sweet, and you can't say that about it's old fashioned in a way that actually works. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this was actually a viewer request, so I'm sorry, we don't remember.
It's been so long since someone requested. Did you request it? Did you just put it on the list?
No, I didn't pull what you did to me with that one movie where I said, who requested this? And you're like, I did.
Which one was that? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
Worth it though. worth deception. Yeah. And by the way, we're recording this a few days after our 20th wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary, dear.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think that does it. I think that concludes our discussion of One Fine Day.
Good night, everyone.